Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Julia Bragg. I'm a Recycling and Collections Advisor, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Harriet Nally. We were hoping to be joined by our colleague, Tom Simpson, who's our brand manager, but unfortunately he can't be here today. So quite interesting in a way, actually, because Harriet's had to learn how to use the templates. So it demonstrates how easy they are to use. So welcome to our session today. Got a little technical hiccup here. Harriet, when you're ready, if you could move the slides on, please. So a brief introduction to REP. I think a number of you have joined us before for our webinars. You probably know who we are, but our vision is a world in which resources are used sustainably. And we plan to do this by reinventing, rethinking, and redefining what's possible through recycling. So a little bit of information on our housekeeping. This is a really short webinar today. It's only about 30 minutes. All our webinars are recorded so that we can share them afterwards on our website. And please do go back in and look at our website and see if any of our previous webinars are of interest to you. We have a chat function that you can use to ask questions or make comments. So please do go and have a look at that and get in touch with us during the session. And if you do want to ask questions, we'll respond to as many of these as we can at the end of the session today.
Thanks, Julia. Hi, everyone. So my name is Harriet Nally, and as Julia said, I'm covering for our design manager today. So I'm going to be running through a demo of how to edit wrap materials using Adobe InDesign. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to start by talking about everything that you need to get ready to edit materials. We're going to look at how to change a headline on wrap materials, how to change an image, how to insert your logo, and then finally, Julia's just going to touch on some of the resources that are available to you. So, you'll find all the wrap resources on the resource library, and that's at partners.wrap.org.uk. We've got lots of things on there from Love Food, Hate Waste, from Recycle Now, and from Love Your Clothes as well. Today, we're going to be demoing the editing of some contamination materials that are newly created. So what you want to do in the first place is download all of the materials that you want to edit from that resource library. And if you're unsure about how to do this, we did run a webinar a couple of weeks ago with Jackie Bailey, where she'll tell you where you can find things easily on the resource library. So once you've got everything downloaded, and that includes images and fonts and other supporting documents, you just want to save those to a specific folder on your computer. You need to save them all in the same folder as the InDesign document, and that will also be available to download from the resource library. Then what you want to do is you want to open InDesign, and then you're pretty much ready to start editing. So I'm going to be flicking backwards and forwards now from InDesign to my document folder and then back into this presentation as well. So just bear with us as we flick through. So hopefully you can all see that. I've got my InDesign document already open. As I mentioned, you'll download all the materials that you need into a folder on your computer. And I've done that down here. I've got a folder that I've called Editing Wrap Materials. And you can see I've got images and I've got fonts and I've got the InDesign document as well that we're working in today. So this version of InDesign is 2019, which is the latest. Yours might look slightly different, though they are pretty much a version of the same. My control panel for managing this document is over here on the left. And today we're going to be using the selection tool, which is top left. That's how we click and select things. And we're going to be using the type tool, which is a T just under it. And that tool allows us to change text, to edit and change text. I'm just going to pop this control panel back out of the way. And like I said, in your InDesign document, it might be slightly different if you're using a different version. This could be at the top, for example, or it might even be down the right-hand side. So as you can see, we're using a leaflet here, which is a guide to residents on what to put in their black sack or green or grey bin, what to put in the general rubbish, essentially. It's about encouraging people to put the right things in the recycling and the wrong things in the general rubbish. So we've got a list of contaminants here that we don't want them to put in the recycling bin. This is a 2-page leaflet. So if you scroll down here, you can see this goes on to a second page there as well. For today, we're just going to focus on this first page and on editing this. So this white section in the middle, this is what's called your artboard. And this is the bit that once you save it and print it, this is the bit that you'll see. Anything to the sides of that, so this grey bit all around the outside, which includes this image and all of these images over here to the right, they wouldn't be on your final document. You wouldn't be able to see those. So at the moment, we're quite zoomed in on this document. So that's really helpful if you're editing up close, but sometimes you want to see the bigger picture and it can be a bit too close. So at the top here, you've got the window bar and you can see it says 125%. So that's probably a little bit too close. So I'm just going to pop it using the drop down back down to 100%. And you see that just zooms us back out. So there we go. So I mentioned at the start that you want to download all the assets from the resource library that are associated with a certain material. And in this case, that's the images. So all of these images here come with this document. And what you need to do is you need to download them and save them into the same folder as the InDesign document. This basically means that they can find each other and that they can connect. I've also got in this folder the logo and a social norming message as well, which we'll use later. Once everything is saved in the same folder, you can actually connect your images to your InDesign document. And at the moment, we can see that they're not connected because we've got a little red question mark over each image. And if you hover over it, you can see it says that it's missing and that I need to click to relink. So, excuse me. So I can either do that by double clicking on the image itself, or I can go up here to the right where there's a little image of a chain and it says links. If I hover over it, if I just click on there, that opens up this links panel. And you can see it's got a whole list of all the images that at the moment are not connected to this document. They're in the document because we've put them in our end, but you will need to connect them your end as well. So all you do to do that is double click on any one of these question marks. So I'm going to double click on the one that says wood image. And that takes me to my folder. So this is the editing wrap materials folder where I've saved everything in images, and all of the images are saved in there. You just want to double check that you're linking the right one. So it's woodimage.pdf, and then you click open. And what that'll do is that'll just connect them together. So it can take a little while, but the clever thing about it is that it'll actually connect all of the images, not just the wood one that I clicked on. So you can see those question marks have all disappeared, and the question marks in the document here have also disappeared. So I just want to move this links panel away because it's covering my screen. So you've got a couple of arrows there in the top right. You just click that and that'll jump away again. If you need to open it for any other reason, you just click back on the chain and that can pop it back out. So we'll just close that for now. So we're going to jump now into editing this headline message. So You'll want to tailor this to your local authority, and that's why we've got the brackets here, so that you can edit the text to apply to your situation. We recommend you don't actually change the font or the size, just to keep everything consistent. So in order to edit the text, at the moment we're on the selection tool. This is how we move around and operate in design generally. It's kind of the default. So we want to click into this area here to edit this text. So if I just click on that, you'll see there's a blue outline that highlights that box. That means I've selected it, but I can't actually edit it with the selection tool. So I'll need to click over here in my control panel, and I'll need to click on the type tool. So I just click on that, take the cursor back over and pop it into that blue box there. And then you can either just click backspace on your keyboard, or you can just highlight the whole lot and delete it. So in this instance, I'm going to opt for a black sack. Now you'll see my cursor is at the end of this box, and if I press backspace, I can't actually go up any further. And that's just because of the way this has been designed. The font is in 3 different boxes. So you'll need to just drop back to your selection tool at the top there, and then select the box above it in order to edit that. So in this case, I just want to delete that bracket. So I go back to my text tool, click it in the box, and backspace on your keyboard. It's always good to go back to the selection tool as your default mode in between editing text or colors or anything else that you might be doing. So if I want to have a quick look at what that looks like, at the moment, obviously, this document's covered in lots of different lines and boxes, and it can be difficult to picture the final result. So what you can do is you can go up here to View, you click View, and go down to Screen Mode. So at the moment, I'm in what's called Normal, and that is your editing mode. If I click it onto Preview, that will show me the document as it would look in its final state. And you can see that that looks quite nice with the text as we've just done it there. It also helps you see if you've kind of gone too far over to the right or too far over to the left. To go back out of preview mode, you just do the same thing. You click View, Screen Mode, back to normal. A handy trick as well on your keyboard is if you just press W, and I find this really useful. So you don't need to press anything else, you just press W, and that flicks you into preview mode, and W again flicks you back into editing mode. So now we want to edit this image here on the left-hand side. So I don't have a black bin in my local authority, so I'm going to click on this black bin, and we can see it's selected. That means I can click it and drag it off the artboard, and I can put it down here to one side. That's out of the way. In this instance, I'm going to use my black sack, and we've provided that template there for you. So again, you just click to highlight it, and you can drag it onto the artboard. We've only provided one different type of bin within these materials, but there are lots of other types of bins on the resource library as well. So if you've got a green bin, you can download that, save it in your image folder, connect it to InDesign, and then you can just insert it here. So one of the really nice things about InDesign is it easily shows you where to put things. So if I've clicked on this object and I want to align it properly with, for example, the top lettering here, when I move it around, you'll see that there's these little faint green lines that come up, and that shows me that if I drop it there, it'll be perfectly aligned with the top of the text. That just keeps it all nice and neat. If you want to make it a bit bigger or a bit smaller, when you've got it selected, you'll see that there's these little white boxes all the way around the outside. If you press Control and Shift on your keyboard, so I'm holding that down now, so Control, Shift, and then hover your cursor over any one of these little white boxes, click and drag, you can make it bigger, click and drag, you can make it smaller. And by holding down Control and Shift at the same time, it'll get bigger and smaller in ratio. It won't stretch or distort the image. So I'm just going to hold down Control and Shift again and make that bigger to the size that I want it. I'm going to align it with the lettering there at the top. I've got my green line, so I can see that that's where I want to drop it. There we go. So now we're going to jump into changing some of these actual contaminant images. So we've put 12 12 images on this particular leaflet, and we'd recommend that you use the same amount and not try and squeeze any more in there, simply because it can look a bit cluttered. So the way this has been designed is that there would be 12 key contaminants that you would communicate to residents. If you have more than 12, perhaps try and think about those that you have the most difficulty with or the most recurring problems with and focus on those. So we've got these ones over here off to the right, which are some extra ones, and that just allows you to tailor it to your local authority. So for example, you might think that plastic bags is not really an issue for you and you don't really want to communicate that. So if you hover over this image and you can click and drag it all the way off the artboard. We'll take that away. That means it's not there anymore. You might think that, for example, clothing, shoes and fabrics is a particular issue that you keep finding in the recycling. So we're going to focus on that one, and we can pull it again by clicking and dragging and putting it onto the artboard. You can also swap these around in the same way, just by clicking and dragging on each image. For example, if you wanted clothing at the top, because that's a key contaminant, you could pop it up there, switching it around with nappies. For now, we're just going to leave it in this left-hand corner. You see, I need to align it. Where I've left it there, it's off to the left and it's not looking very neat. So again, when I click on it and start moving it around, you'll see those green lines appear, and that just tells me where the top of the rest of these images is and where I can align it on the left-hand side as well. I'm just going to align that down there as well. If you click off, you can see that's all nicely aligned. So feel free to pick and choose as many of those as you want. Like I said, we've got some extras off to the right there, and hopefully we've covered most of the major contaminants that you might want to talk to your residents about. So moving on then to the bottom of the leaflet. Down here, we've got the location recycles social norming message, which we know is a really recognised and effective piece of messaging. So we encourage you to use that. By clicking on this, again, I can move it off the artboard because obviously this is just a template, but I want to put my own one in. And we have actually created a social norming message, location recycles, for all local authorities across England. So if you haven't got yours, just drop us an email and we can share that with you. What you want to do is have that saved again in that same folder, same documents folder as the InDesign file. And to pop it in, you simply go up to File and you choose Place. So File, Place. That will again open up the same document folder that I've been working in. And then here I've just got a London Recycles one that we're using as an example. This is an EPS file, and that just means it has a transparent background. So if you had a JPEG, it might not have a transparent background, and that might mean that when you put it on this green background, it would also have white behind it, which obviously can look a bit messy. So we encourage you to use this EPS file type. So we click on that and we just click open. And you'll see that's now attached to my cursor. So I just click to put it into the InDesign document. Then we just want to pop it up here into this nice green space. And here you can see there's a purple line down the left and a pink line at the bottom. And that again just helps me to align it all up nicely. So you can just click and drag to get that left hand and bottom line lined up. You can also just use the keys on your keyboard to do that as well. That looks a little bit big. So in the same way that we did with the bin, I'm just going to make it slightly smaller. So I'll hold down Control and Shift, just make that a little bit smaller, and then click it into the bottom left there. Final thing that you want to do on this document is to add your logo. So this here, you can't really see that because that text is quite small, but that says insert your local authority logo here. So we're just going to drag that off and pop it down there. And that gives you the space to insert your logo. I know for some of you, you might have multiple logos, but we would try and encourage you to use as few as possible, just so as not to clutter. So if you can try and use the most relevant one. So to add the logo, you can do it in exactly the same way that we added that social norming message. You can click File and Place, or you can actually just go to your Documents folder and you can drag it in. So just move this over here a little bit, and I've got the wrap logo here, again, saved in EPS. And what you can do is you can just click on that and drag that in to the InDesign document. And you can see on my cursor there, I've got wrap. So I just click. The wrap logo has come up pretty big, as you can see, it's quite massive. And if I click and drag it along, it's obviously far too big for the space. So again, we just use Control and Shift, hover over one of the white arrows and make it a lot smaller. And then I click and drag it up into the space that we've got. Make it smaller still, Control Shift and drag. And then using those lines again that are already in the document, you can just align it up nicely into that corner. Using this as a guide, I'm going to align them so that they're both the same height, just to keep it nice and neat. Control and Shift, and then just drag that down, and that helpful green line should pop up once I'm the same size, which you see it has. And then I just let go and pop it back into the corner again. It's quite hard from here to see if that is all aligned. So again, you can go up here to the top and you can just zoom in a little bit closer to make sure that everything is sitting on the lines, which actually you can see now it's not quite. So I can click on those and use my keyboard to just move that up one, click on that one, use my keyboard to move that up one as well. So that's the final bit of editing that we're going to do on this document. I'm just going to zoom back out again because we're quite close. Like I said at the start, anything that's now sitting outside of this document wouldn't be saved on your final version, whether that's printed or whether that's just online. So what we want to do now is save this as a PDF. So the way to do that is simply to go up to File. And before you do it, you might want to save the document. If you do that, it'll save over the original that you downloaded, which is fine. You might want to save as if you want to keep a copy of that for later as well. In this instance, we're going to turn it into a PDF. So we're going File, Export. And this will take you to your document folder again and ask you if you want to save it there or somewhere else. Just check at the bottom that it is actually saving as a PDF. Sometimes it goes on to EPS or HTML or JPEG or any other version. So just make sure that it has selected PDF and then click Save. And then you'll get a pop-up that asks you for a bit of extra information. Most of the time you can ignore this, it's not applicable. One thing that you do want to check, especially if you're printing materials, is the compression tab here. So if you just click on that, just check that the JPEG quality is maximum. So sometimes that might be preset to minimum. So you would just want to click on the downward arrow there and bump it back up to maximum. Same with the resolution, that might sometimes be on 144 and you just want to bump it up to 300. This just makes sure that you've got the highest quality possible, and that's really important, especially if you're printing documents. So then you just click Export. And that'll take just a minute and we'll generate the PDF for you. Sometimes the PDF pops up straight away. At other times it doesn't. So in this case, it looks like it is. Okay, so that's opened for me straight away. If it doesn't open and it stays in InDesign, just go to your Documents folder and it will have created the PDF with the same name alongside your InDesign folder. So you'll be able to find it just there. So we're just going to jump into the PDF and have a look and zoom out a little bit. And you can see there everything looks sort of fairly nice and neat. The logos are a good size, they're not too big, not too small, and that's exactly how I want it. If you decide at this point, actually there's stuff that you want to change, you can just close, delete the document, go back into InDesign and repeat it again. So that brings us to the end of the live demo. I'm now just going to pass back over to Julia briefly to talk about some of the resources that are available, and we'll open it up for a quick Q&A. That has taken me 25 minutes, sorry to talk at you for so long, but if you do have any burning questions, do feel free to pop them through on the chat function now.
Thank you, Harriet. That was great. I feel like I could go and design all kinds of things now. Perhaps I should have started back in September. I could have done some Christmas cards. Anyway, thank you to Harriet. Oh, just whizzing through the slides there. So Harriet mentioned there are some more resources out there for you. So she also talks about the webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago with our colleague Jackie. Definitely go and have a look at that. We know the resource library is tricky to work your way around, so have a look at that Navigating the Resource Library webinar. There's also some materials known as Urban Resources User Guide, so that's quite helpful in terms of understanding how to move things around on our templates. And then if you're looking for some inspiration and tuition on how to use InDesign and don't have access to graphic designers in your local authority, just go and have a look at Google. It's so helpful. There are YouTube videos and all kinds of hints and tips on the internet on how to use InDesign and how to adapt template documents. So yeah, have a play. So in terms of other questions, someone's asked a question which we may or may not be able to answer. If we can't answer it now, we'll certainly get back to you. It's from Alex, and it says, how would we export with print marks? Harriet, do you know that one?
Yes, so I think I know the answer to this question, Alex. Let me just escape out of our webinar screen quickly, if I can. So popping back into InDesign, when you go to export as a PDF, file export, PDF, save, I believe there is an option within here somewhere, I might not know where exactly, but there is an option somewhere either within this screen or within one of your other screens to actually add those, the outline of the print barriers in. So you can do that quite easily. Like Julia said, there's loads of stuff available on Google. My general top tip is if you can't find it, just ask Google because it will know and it will tell you exactly where it is. But I believe it is in one of these windows somewhere. And then you'll just be able to click export.
We'll try and find out through Alex there and pop that on in or something. Another question we've had, when you're moving around the London Recycle logo, Harriet, we had a question from Steve. He commented that it looks a little bit blurry. Well, what have your views on that? It does look a little bit blurry there on the screen. Does that matter? What happens when you come to print it or PDF it?
Yeah, sometimes when you're in editing mode, things can look a bit blurry. For example, our wrap logo, in my opinion, looks slightly blurry there. What I would say is when you save it as a PDF, just make sure that you're saving it in that high quality that we talked about here in compression. Make sure that's on maximum and that's on 300. And when you click save and it takes you to the PDF, just double check it. If it still looks blurry, you might want to reconsider the original image. The majority of the images that we upload to the resource library should be of high quality and should allow you to print them. If your logo is turning out blurry, you might want to go back to your designer about that. Just check on the file type you're using. So it should be an EPS, that's the ideal one. And if it is blurry, like I said, perhaps talk to your designer about maybe getting a higher quality logo.
All right, I know for a fact that the images of the contaminants and the recyclable materials are 300 PI. They're specifically designed for print, so there shouldn't be any issues with those. Just a little plug again for the resource library. Harriet mentioned that you can find a whole suite of different coloured bins on there, and boxes and sacks and things like that. But also, we tried to cover off in the second page of that leaflet the usual recyclable materials. But if there's something on there that you collect, or there's something that you particularly want to target, do have a look, and you will be able to find more recyclable materials as well. Those are just examples. So also, if you don't collect some things like cartons, for instance, and you want to have more images of, say, plastic bottles, you can just move things around inspiration. We've got a question from Carol, Harriet. Right back at the beginning, when you did the wood link, and you're moving around the PDF of the wood, it linked all the other images. Can you still change the other images round, or change, you know, put, say, a picture of something else, like a plastic bag, back in, or does that mean they're now fixed?
So the linking of the images is just to connect the actual InDesign document with all of the images that you have saved on your computer, just to link them together. It won't affect what images you can use in this document. So you can click on any image and move it out, and click and replace it with a different one. Once you've actually done that linking of images, they're all connected, so you can use any one you like. I think that's the question you're asking. If not,
that seems clear to me. So
yeah.
If not, we can get back to Carol and find out. Okay. Any questions from anyone else? Okay. So the final slide was the mugshot slide. So this is the team. Those of you who've been on our webinars before will recognise the Rogues Gallery there. So as before, if you want to get in touch with us, and please do, any feedback is really gratefully received, positive or negative. And let us know how you get on changing the templates. If anything's not working for you, just let us know, because these are there for you guys to use rather than struggle with. So we have first name dot last name at wrap.org.uk protocol for our own emails. You can see the team's name there. Or if you can't remember or don't know who you want to talk to, just use la.support@wrap.org.uk. So I think we're pretty much finished there. I'll let Harriet say goodbye in a second. So just wishing you all a really peaceful Christmas and a very happy New Year. And please join us early in the New Year, because we'll be launching our third series of webinars. We'll be getting out some information to you soon on what's coming up. We've already got a packed program, so looking forward to sharing that. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Julia, and thanks to everyone for listening. We hope you found it helpful, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year. Thank you.